The foundation of this pattern requires us to build two pillars, one on the far left and one on the far right. Depending on which pieces you get, one of them will be jagged and one of them will be smooth on top. What we want to be paying attention to when we start off the round is which piece comes first between the S or the Z. If the Z comes first, then we lay the Z flat on the far right side of the board here. If the S comes first, we lay it flat on the far left side of the board. An easier way to remember this is that you look at the squiggly pieces and see which piece comes first, and we have that piece pointing towards the center well. For the rest of the jagged pillar, the other squiggly, the Z or the S that came second, gets to sit on top of the foundational piece. And the T piece gets tucked in underneath the foundation right nice and comfy right there. The line piece, which will be coming up right later, gets to stand on the column that the other squiggly piece doesn't occupy. For the other pillar, the J, L, and L just nicely come together to create a nice 3x4 block that we just set there as the foundation for our flat pillar. Ideally, you want to maintain one jagged pillar and one flat pillar on the board as you stack them to the top. You want to take the S's and the Z's and stack them high on the jagged pillar where they will rest cleanly. But you're going to need to use T's to switch back and forth to accommodate for the different slope shapes of the S's and the Z's. It's like a connector that allows S's and Z's to coexist with each other on the same stack cleanly. And then you want to take the I's and then place them on the column that the S, Z, T's aren't using to maintain the jagged pillar. The flat pillar should continue to just simply take the J, O, L pattern. Now, there will be times where you will be forced to play with two jagged or two flat pillars. In this case, if you're not practiced enough, you want to take it slow and think about what pieces you can use to change a flat into a jagged, or vice versa. Or sometimes with a different group of blocks, like say a J and then an S and then an L in an order, you can maintain a flat pillar in that way instead of a J, O, L. Sometimes you'll also just have to throw a piece down the middle if it'll create a really bad situation. It's fine, don't worry about it too much. You're still learning. Now, once your pillars are stacked high enough, it's time for the fun part. The 4-wide has a number of patterns that you cycle through. Before we get into the thick of 4-wide patterns real quick, a line piece can always be laid flat in the middle of the board, and it's a free line. Easy peasy. It's a freebie, don't worry about it. In this example, we start with a slope, which can accept O's, one of the two kinds of squigglies, T's, and also J's and L's, but J's and L's will land you in patterns that accept very few kinds of pieces afterwards. So you want to be mindful about using a J or an L when you're going to land a piece in the 4-wide with a slope. The friendliest patterns that you want to come back to as often as you can are slopes, lines, and awnings. These accept the most types of pieces while still leaving a pattern that allows you to continue your combo. The next best pattern is the broken line. It accepts one type of squiggly, T's, and one type of either L or J, depending on your orientation. Broken lines with the correct squiggly puts you back into slope, which is always a great pattern to swerve back to. A pattern that is bad, but a necessary evil, is what I call a boot, which can only accept O's or one type of L's or J's, depending on the orientation. I call it a necessary evil because it's one of the most common situations that you can find yourself in that can accept O's, which are really troublesome to place to begin with, the O piece. If you can lead yourself into a boot with an O that you can immediately play next, whether it's next in your queue or if it's in your hold, then you can easily escape the boot and it leads you to the line pattern for free, no problem. There are a number of very uncommon patterns that you can also run into that I don't cover in this video for brevity's sake. If you're interested, I'll have a 4-wide wiki page linked in the description for further reading. Hopefully, this video will at least get you started in the dark arts of 4-wides. They're actually really fun to do by yourself. Honestly, I swear. Just be sure to use them responsibly in multiplayer, lest you draw the ire of your foes or cause your peers to lose all respect for you. You don't really want that, right? Oh. Man, that That was a freaky ass dream.